Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
How to use Brew Clean. Why don't more homebrewers use Sanke Kegs? Do sours affect your dispensing equipment? And brewing a more festive Kolsch. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 311. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them into 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by my co-host. First, he is the director of operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson. And the self-muted ran away from the Zoom call. I can say whatever I want about him. He is the morbidly obese no, that's rude. He's not actually, he actually looks like he's kind of losing weight to me. But yeah. I think he's setting me up for a weight loss contest. Anyways, Chief Keg Washer and president of KegConnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. James, how are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah, it's cold. It's 16 degrees in Comanche right now.
That's why I asked, because it hasn't hit us yet. So I'm 3.5 hours southeast, or I guess basically due south almost of y'all. And we are right now, my thing says it's 54, but in y'all's area, it says it's 14. It says it's 14 in Comanche.
Yeah,
Todd,
and it is.
You got to unmute
1:30.
Todd,
think about that.
Yeah, that's wild. Todd, you're still muted. You muted yourself before you ran off.
Yeah, sorry, I had an emergency. I had a phone call that I had to answer real quick, so I apologize.
Oh, real emergency. Okay. Normally, sometimes you say emergency and it just means you're gassy. So I wasn't sure.
No, I wouldn't have to leave for that.
The 1-star review. They just burp and fart. Burp and fart. Shut up. You. Oh, is that the emergency? Before we started recording, they're both showing off James's alt beer, which, by the way, the color looks great. I thought you were worried about the color.
No, the color was there. It's just it's got too much roasted malt in it, so it's not alt.
Kind of alt. It's kind of alt. It's kind of on the higher end of the malty bitter. I don't know what the term is for that. When the bitter comes not from hops but from the malts.
Yeah,
it's kind of like because you don't the alt beer you probably like the least is the one I like the most, and it has that same super malty.
Yeah, that's the
bittering.
Yeah.
Udiga. See, and I always thought it was Schumacher that was your favorite, but it's Udiga.
Udiga.
You just like saying that. Udiga. We need Stefan on the show again to tell us how to pronounce words. What was it the other day I was saying?
Germans don't ever. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it. They always say you pronounce it incorrectly. So.
Exactly. Every word I've ever said to him, it could be like Morgan. No, Josh. Morgan. Yes, Morgan. No, Josh. Morgan. Okay, Morgan. No, Josh. Okay. I'm going to stop trying.
Never mind. I'm going to give up.
Yeah, I'm just going to give up. Yes, we are right in the middle of Winter Blast 2022, ending the year with hopefully, fingers crossed, guys, ERCOT does us good this year, that we don't, we don't have precipitation is what I was told, but then your wife, Todd, was texting me. And she was sending me videos of the ranch. You'll have snow? What the heck?
Yeah, we got snow outside the building. I had the kegs of alt outside, and
awesome.
and I had to bring them in because I thought they're going to freeze.
They're going to freeze. I can't cold condition. They're going to freeze. I hope the precipitation. It wasn't bad though, right? Like shut down the roads bad. Y'all aren't.
No, it's just dusting.
Okay.
Light dusting.
Okay, a light again. Back to Todd's gas. A light dusting. Sorry, toilet humor. I can't stop. I didn't get out of my PJs today. I got I stole this Texas A&M sweatshirt from my dad like a decade ago. Never gave it back. I did not go to A&M. I dropped out of Texas State. But my wife has been on high alert about the shutdowns and stuff because she had me going and running and collecting water and all this stuff. Because in 2021, we were without power off and on for like 4 or 5 days. And people were going nuts at the grocery store. It was long lines. So this year we're more prepared. I've got like 40 plus gallons of water in kegs and carboys. And then I actually got kegs of beer in my fridge, got tons of beer. So I'm safe. I'm good. I think
as long as you have beer, I think you're good.
I've got beer. My kids I've got propane. I think my kids have oatmeal and peanut butter. I've got beer. We've got 2 weeks of survival in the Stubing household. But I was using y'all as a test because, like I said, it's hitting y'all obviously a lot harder coming down towards us. What is the wind chill right now, James? If the actual temperature is 14, what is the wind chill?
Oh, it's going to be exactly -1.
Oh God! I just looked up where I go antelope hunting every year, and sent a text to the family there, and it was tonight. It's going to be -24, and the wind chill is going to be -50.
Oh my God! That's what was that book that you recommended? We read a few years ago.
The children's blizzard.
That's like that, where the kids went to school in the morning in like 48 degree or 55 degree weather, and by the time it was to come home from school, it was like 2 degrees, and a lot of people, that's terrifying weather. I mean, that's like not walking outside because you could die if you're not properly layered up. And I mean, I've been working on some layers all year, but as I rub my belly. But it's supposed to be here 12 degrees tomorrow morning, and the wind chill is supposed to be like 4. So that means it feels like it's 4, right? I don't understand.
I just think it's funny because we're going on and on about this on the podcast. There's probably half of our listeners are going, that's not even that cold. Right?
Yeah, they're like, God, in Texas, I'd be wearing shorts. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'll segue us out of that too. I did have good weather. I was just at the beach for an anniversary trip. And I was sending you photos of me in the hot tub, Todd, and I posted it on our Instagram, and I got called out quick. People were like, "You're on an anniversary with your wife in the hot tub, and you're thinking about Todd." So, just for clarification, no, I wasn't. I wasn't thinking.
Seems like you were. I'm flattered in a way, but kind of disgusted at the same time. So
yeah, you sound like my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, that describes.
Oh, that's funny.
That describes my 15 years of marriage to her. But yeah, so just got back from there. Wish I could go back. Let me see. Before we get to the Patreon stuff, there is still for what is today, the 23rd, couple days till Christmas, but a week-ish left of the month. And for you to take advantage at kegconnection.com, 10% off site-wide. Keg kits up to 40% off. All keg kits are at least 25% off. Some of the complete keg kits are 40% off. After Christmas, there's going to be more deals on air distributors, blowout sale on some stuff. And Todd, you're talking about after Christmas doing a special with the Brautag where it'll be at a very a blowout price basically, and then you'll figure out shipping, or it could be free local pickup like we've had at least 2 purchasers do before. One of them actually came brewed with us. You had mentioned that would be your ideal thing if they want to come pick it up. We'll do a brew day as well at the same time.
Yeah, we could work that out. We just have to get the timing down, but yeah, we could work that out.
But yeah, so just be on the lookout at kegconnection.com. Like I said, there's already posted deals there. Obviously, it's not going to get to in time by Christmas, but when you get that sweet kegconnection.com gift card or whatever you get for Christmas, come back around and check out the deals. They're good through the end of the month. And then, like I said, right after Christmas, we're going to have some more blowout stuff, trying to make way for 2023 and a new us and whatever. But we got a lot of stuff, a lot of deals for you over at kegconnection.com. And then that brings me to our last kind of bit of small talk. Oh, I'm lying. 2 things of small talk. Your wedding article, we've been getting a lot more photos flooding in people's draft systems at weddings. A reminder, if you email us your draft setup at a wedding, and you're going to get 10% off coupon that does stack on top of the 10% going through December. So you want to get those into us before the month is over. But if Todd ends up using your photo in his final article, he's also going to send you a beer line cleaning kit of your choice, right?
Yeah.
Sure. I was making sure you were paying attention to me. That was part of the deal. Your eyes were wandering on screens. I
didn't remember that.
Yes, remember, because they could pick a homebrew version of the beer line clean kit or the standard.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about. I couldn't figure out how to minimize my video so I could bring it over to this screen so I wasn't staring away from the screen. But I just figured it out. I'm a little slow sometimes on technology, if you didn't realize that, Josh.
Would you say technology can be hard? Would you say that?
Technology can be hard for me, yes.
But yeah, so email that stuff. Right now, the catch-all is help@kegconnection.com, but you can send your setups to tburns@kegconnection.com or directly to me, Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com, and you'll know immediately when we receive it because I'll send you a unique 10% off coupon code just for you. I did that, Todd, to sometimes we make coupon codes and it gets shared in multiple kinds, and that makes it harder for us to track down like who's using it because they actually earned it or listen to the show or whatever, and who's just sharing it, which normally we don't share the HHH one and all that. But when we do stackable ones and all that, because you're doing something to earn it, I make them one-time unique ones. So if you've sent us something and you haven't gotten that, text me directly because it could have ended up in my spam. 325-305-6107 with your name and email, and I'll make sure that you get the 10% off code, because again, that does stack on top of the current 10% off going on at Keg Connection through the end of this month. Finally, our last bit of small talk before we do have listener feedback. We are brewing this month. It is, let me put on the screen, boom, James Brown Ale. I love it. There's James Brown there. I feel good. Absolutely. It does ship out with Imperial's House. That's a strain we love. It is a delicious beer. I have not brewed it yet for this month. Todd, you've been good about brewing, but I don't think you've brewed this one either.
Nope.
We gotta get on it. The yeast did arrive, right? James or whomever.
Yeah. They just left it out in the warehouse again. I just happened to notice it. I don't know I don't know who the hell's doing that.
Last month they did that. Thankfully, the temperature's so low.
It won't hurt it. But
and Imperial does a phenomenal job of packaging and putting in ice packs and all that. They use the expensive insulated stuff, the packaging, but yeah, who is it? It's FedEx, right? That's shipping this.
Yeah, it's FedEx. I don't know why they would not put it with our other packages. It makes no sense.
What is our reps? His name's JR. Give me his email. I'll let him have it.
Okay. All right, I'll let you know.
No, you'll actually handle it. I'm acting tough on air, but Todd knows when it's good cop, bad cop. I beg Todd to be bad cop because I'm not even really a good cop. I'm not good at playing either one. I get awkward when I'm having to ask people things, but Todd does it well. You'll follow through. So again, if you want to brew with us the delicious James Brown Ale, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. You can also go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club. While you're there at homebrewhappyhour.com, you can check out other ways that you can support our efforts, what we're doing. We could not do this without your support. I promise you that. We greatly appreciate, even if you're not in the Chub Club, when people order from Keg Connection and they put in the notes, fan of the show and all that, it makes my little Grinch heart grow 3 sizes larger, which I think is what myocarditis does too. But anyway, moving on, we've got a great show for this week. Before I get into the questions, it's time for listener feedback. Oh, every week that I get to hit that button makes me feel happy. We got some listener feedback this week. It's from our buddy Tyler from Michigan, and it's about the question we took last week on teaser condensation.
Hey guys, it's Tyler from Beer City, Michigan. I wanted to give you some feedback on the condensation in the Keezer question. I use a product called Damp Rid, which comes in a small plastic container, and put it right inside the Keezer, and it absorbs all the moisture that's in the air, keeps it a very dry environment, and I haven't had a problem with any pooling of water or any condensation freezing on the sides. Thanks for the show. Love you guys. Bye.
Beer City, Michigan. Is he talking about Grand
I love
Rapids? Got to be Grand Rapids, right? Or is there actually a Beer City, Michigan? No, the Damp Rid, great suggestion. I actually first saw this.
I couldn't understand what he said. A damp what?
Damp Rid is the product, and I know what he's talking about.
Oh, it's called damp. Now I got it. Okay,
So-
I've never heard of it.
So I first discovered it at the beach house this summer because I thought it was like pest control. In the corner of this beach house, this like 3-story beach house that we stay at with my pop and my brother and his family, every floor's main living area had this plastic container that said Damp Rid on it. And, I went and looked at it. I was like, what the heck? My kids are going to get into this. Is this roach kill? No, it was dehumidifier stuff. And I guess
that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, right. I didn't look it up. I don't know the price of it, but
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
We got to order some and put it in my kitchen and see how it
see,
works.
Yeah.
there you go.
And the price is cheap.
What is it is it like a 5-pack?
They have a refillable container at Walmart for $3.47.
Oh, that's
$3.47.
That's nothing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dirt. Yeah, when you say dirt cheap,
And
that
it's
is.
refillable.
Yeah. Yeah, give it a try, Todd, and we'll do our own.
I definitely, I would do that. Absolutely.
Do your own in-house experimentation. I'm not surprised I didn't think of it because I'm an idiot, but I do know the product again from the beach house, and it made sense in an area with high humidity like a beach house where you'd have it, or like inside of a Keezer, right?
Right.
I actually did get a crap ton of feedback on that question about Keezers. Next week, I'll have at least one more to use, but I am running low on voicemail questions. So if you want to get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com, almost guaranteed because we need the content for voicemails, send it over to 325-305-6107. I have no shortage of feedback voicemails right now. I've probably got a dozen, most of them relating to the condensation question. So I can't take them all, guys. But again, when you send us feedback or a question via voicemail, you get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. If you do it by text or using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, you still get a $15 gift card, which is pretty stinking good if you ask me, but it's not my money. So of course it sounds good. It's free money. Anyways, our first question for this week.
It is my money.
That's the whole shtick, man. You should see people who have befriended me on Facebook and they'll ask me a question. My comments always, leave a voicemail so I can give you Todd's money. They love it. They love it. So leave us a voicemail and I'll give you Todd's money. Our first question is from our buddy Brian, who did use the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Brian wrote, "Hello, gents. This is a question about Keg Connection's Brew Clean product. The website description mentions using hot water, so I am wondering what the ideal temperature is when using Brew Clean. Excuse me. Also, does the water always need to be hot for the Brew Clean to be effective, or will it still clean well after a few hours? I'm switching from a competing powdered detergent, and I'd like to make sure I'm using Brew Clean as it's intended before giving you my review. Happy holidays, Brian. He's talking about PBW. I know that there are, and other people use OxyClean, powdered detergents for cleaning equipments, and not an uncommon thing with brew gear. Now, I will say, Todd, you had Brew Clean developed specifically for hardier cleaning needs. I mean, I don't know the way.
For the kegs. We had, the company had another product that we were using, and it just wasn't working as well as we needed it to. So we changed my dad's a chemical engineer, and those two guys got together, and I don't know what they were talking about, but anyway, it cleans. It really cleans well, and it will clean at any temperature. I mean, you could mix it up at 60 degrees and you could clean with it, but it definitely cleans better when it's hotter. The temperature I recommend for it is as hot as it will get coming out of your faucet.
Right. Whatever your water heater makes it.
Exactly. So that's just that works well. For me, it's always worked well for me. It's not always the same temperature, but as hot as you can get it, I would say, without having to go to the effort to heat it up by boiling it or something like that. I mean, obviously, you probably wouldn't want to use boiling water to do it, but
right.
I mean, you could, but it might damage your equipment if it's sensitive to that.
Now he didn't ask this, but hard water, soft water, does that affect the effectiveness of Brew Clean, in your opinion?
I don't know how it would affect it.
I have extremely hard water, and it seems to still clean fine.
I've never had any issue. I have very hard water too.
And I do
too.
Like you said, I use whatever the hottest my faucet can get up to. And I remember back in the day, back in San Marcos in the warehouse, and like months after you had your dad and the company had developed it, I remember, the method of putting a couple teaspoons in the keg as hot water. Your water heater at the time was maybe, I might be exaggerating, a 50 gallon or so. I mean, we could do 10 kegs of really, really hot water. And then we would, and then we'd let them soak for an hour. And then we would use one keg, take that water and put half of it in another keg, half of it in another, so on and so forth with the kegs that were full. And then your hot water heater by that time was full enough to then top off all those other kegs with fresh hot water. And that seemed like the most effective way. We were mass cleaning kegs for a day, so we had to try to make use as possible. I don't ever recall having to add a lot more Brew Clean throughout that process. As in, what I'm getting at is it still seemed very effective from one keg to another, hours and hours later.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You may not totally remember the process. What we did was we did add hot water each time.
No, that's what I said. I don't remember adding Brew Clean. We added hot water every time. I don't know.
Yeah, we added Brew Clean too.
But not the full 2 teaspoons every time, right? Or tablespoons, pardon me.
Oh, okay. So, we were doing it either doubling it or tripling it or whatever we were doing. But so the hot water heater will basically heat up enough water to, obviously it depends on what kind of hot water heater you have, but the one we had was 40 gallons. So that would be enough to do 8 kegs. So what we did was we just added 8 kegs to the number we were doing each time. So if we started with 8, we went to 16. When we went from 8 to 16, then we still added the 8 tablespoons of Brew Clean. We just did half a tablespoon in each keg since we were doubling it. And then when we went to 24, we would still add 8 and spread it out over those.
Okay. Now it has been a while since I've done it. The keg cleaning. I used to be the keg king many years ago, Todd. But it has been a while. But
you did used to wash kegs. You were never the keg king. I think we both know that.
Yeah, that is true. I liked the days, James, when Todd was out of town Monday through Friday, and he'd come home Friday afternoon when I was already, like, all the kegs were already done, and he couldn't critique my work until he would call me maybe on a Sunday and be like, "Hey, I'm about to leave town, but by the way, you screwed up orders that like going through it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, see you when you get back in town." But the keg cleaning stuff, what I was getting at to answer Brian's question is it still seems incredibly effective. Even if, like, I've had it soaking in a bucket with stuff in it, forgotten about it over a few hours, and that didn't mess up anything. Now, it's not a no rinse kind of thing. You're going to obviously take the stuff out and rinse it with water and all that, because it can get kind of slimy if you let your lid sit in a bucket full of solution for 4 or 5 hours. But it is an extremely effective product where the hotter it is, I feel like the better cleaning it does, but that's not necessary. James, this all you use as well on your equipment.
It's a fantastic product. I would say it works better with room temp to warmer water. I probably would work with cold water if you let it set a little longer, but I think room temp. I just did 3 kegs of the not alt, and I used about a tablespoon, some hot water, scrubbed them real good, rinsed them. It rinses really well too. That's another thing I love about the soap is it rinses clean and doesn't leave any smell. So I love the product.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say it rinses very well. That for me, I think I call y'all almost every other time I'm kegging or brewing or something, and I know these like sanitizers specifically are no rinse. I'm like, well, what is it going to do if I rinse though? Because it's like it's a psychological thing for me when I see it. But the thing I like about Brew Clean, like you said, I take my disconnects or my whatever out of the bucket, and they're all slimy. But I run even just hose water over it, and boom, it's rinsed. It's perfect. It doesn't leave any grime or anything on it, and the best part again is it actually does a phenomenal job of cleaning. If I have beer stone in the keg or syrup, because I took a keg from Todd and didn't tell him, and it was his keg. Either way, that was just hypothetical.
Right.
You let it soak, and it gets rid of that stuff, and it's great. The only, like you said, James, I've gotten used to it. Some people will go, "I received the keg from you, and it has like this kind of Sprite odor to it." It can leave that residue, right, Todd? Where
yeah, it gives it a little bit of a sweet. What happens is, even though we rinse them out, a little bit may fall down from the dip tube, or just, I don't know, be on the side or whatever, and it'll just get a tiny little bit on the bottom, and when it sits for a while, it'll get kind of a sweet smell when you open it up, but it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I will wrap up the question by saying, though, I do challenge people. We did this once at a homebrew con when we were really pushing the sanitizer and the Brew Clean, telling people to compare it to the OxyClean or the other powdered detergents they're using, because I really do believe in Brew Clean that much. It's a phenomenal product, and it's been on the market now for 12 years. At least a decade. I think it's been 12 years, but it's been out for a while. Everyone who uses it does really well on Amazon. I don't know if y'all have noticed that the Amazon orders.
Oh yeah, we sell a lot of it.
Sell a ton of it on Amazon. But anyways, Brian, thank you so much for submitting the question. A reminder: when you submit it by text at homebrewhappyhour.com or 325-305-6107, you get a $15 gift card to kegconnection.com. Like our second question of the show from our buddy Thomas, who did text it in, and he wrote, "Josh, I have a question for the podcast. Why don't homebrewers use the same kegs as breweries? A lot of them came up for sale in my area at an auction. I'm tempted to bid if I can get them cheap. What are your thoughts?" We've kind of taken questions like this before. People, I think the last time we took it, someone was like, "Hey, I got these kegs," and I think we ended up saying, "We're not sure if that's legit." Oh my God, because a lot of them on the market being sold aren't actually the people selling them's right to do it. But I talked to Thomas. This is a going out of business sale, like a lot auction kind of thing that's being held by a reputable place. So as far as he's done his due diligence to make sure I have this opportunity to get Sanke Kegs at a decent price, barring someone else outbidding him or whatever. I remember our buddy Joe, he used them a lot because that's what he had, and he was cheap and didn't want to buy other stuff. I've never used them, guys. I know messing with the spears under pressure and all that can be a terrifying thing. James, what do you think? Would you are you apprehensive of using a Sanke keg as a home brewer, or I mean, would you say it matters?
I used them for years when we had the Duster Brew House, and the spears, you have to rotate them a certain way. They have to unlock. They're almost keyed to the keg, so it's not like you're gonna touch them and they're gonna hit you in the face. There is notches or tabs that you have to rotate to get it out. I think you rotate it once and then rotate it again to get it to unlock and come through but the biggest thing is they're kind of hard to clean. And a bit of those out there are all leased kegs. So he got them the correct way through the auction, but there's a lot of those out there that probably aren't for purchase. And, we see a lot of that with the ball lock kegs. They have stickers on that say, this is not for sale. And, but we used them, probably shouldn't have. This is all we had at the time. And it's just a different way of cleaning them and the way we filled them. And the ball lock and pin lock kegs are so much more easier to use and clean and transport than we were using, 16-gallon Sanke D kegs. So much rather use ball lock kegs.
What you said about the cleaning is what I've always heard too. And like I said, the spear thing, I'm a sissy. I think everyone who's a longtime listener knows that anything under pressure just scares me. And I've read one little thing about, oh yeah, the spears can be dangerous. And so in my brain, I was like, okay, never want them ever again, unless it's a commercial keg that I don't have to clean and take apart, because maintenance on a keg, whether it's a Sanke keg or a homebrew keg, is an absolute. You can't get around it. But Todd, is this maybe a case of like how when we talk about chillers, a plate chiller is good, but it's going to be that much harder to cleaner. So let's just use an immersion chiller. Is that even a decent analogy? Or what are your thoughts on commercial type kegs versus the soda kegs that we use?
I mean, I do think there is a danger there. If somebody isn't careful and they don't know what they're doing, you got to make sure if you're going to use one and you've purchased it legitimately, you just got to make absolutely sure that there's no pressure on it, because a Sanke keg, there's no way you can take the lid off when it's under pressure or under considerable pressure. I mean, if it has 2 PSI, you can probably push hard enough to push it down and get the lid out. And also, once you've pushed it down, you got to turn it. You got to get it just the right way for it to come out. Whereas with a Sanke, you'd have to make absolutely sure it didn't have pressure on it and be very careful. Don't put your face over it while you're working on it.
That's right. Yeah. And you said Sanke for the first one. You meant a soda keg. You meant the ball lock and pin lock corny kegs for, common vernacular is your first example where it's difficult to.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Did I say Sanke?
You did, but it's okay because we know what you meant. It is difficult to open those when they're under pressure. And like you said, unless it's very low pressure, but then even then you would know like, why isn't this pushing in? Oh, it's probably under pressure. So you're saying with the Sanke one, it could be a open the key thing. And if it has pressure, it could hurt.
Yeah.
It could hurt.
Well, it's happened before. So yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't happened to you though.
No, I don't use them. I mean, I have messed with them before, but we have all the tools and everything to do them, or we did at one time. I don't know if we still do, but I have a 10-gallon keg that I used recently that is actually a ball lock. They made them in the United States really for the dairy industry. And I've had one forever, so I used it the other day. Hell, I had a really hard time getting that in my keezer. I can't imagine getting a 15-gallon Sanke keg in my keezer. I can't lift it.
You know what? That's a great point. I think my pop and I use the turnkey Edge Star kegerator types where you open the door and it's, but basically you could roll a bigger keg into it or kind of duck walk it in. You're right. I didn't ask Thomas for clarification. I'm assuming these aren't the sixth barrel smaller. These are like what you said you used, James, right? Like the half barrel.
I had both.
Oh, did you? Oh, so where did you find? Where'd you find the sixth barrel ones? Are those?
We had a distributor go out of business, and I was able to get 4 fat tire kegs for, I want to say we paid $200 for all 4, and we got to keep the kegs because they were going to a leasing. And he called me one day and said, "Hey, we've got this sale. Do you want them?" And I still have them.
So, okay. And so those are the ones that you can fit like 6 gallons in or 5 point whatever, right?
Yeah. And I didn't even think it was quite 5 gallons. I don't know. They seemed awful small. They seemed smaller than a ball lock keg, but I could be wrong. I'm not the keg expert.
Yeah, but if it was those, I'm just saying, because for my mind, like Todd said, gosh, if Todd at one of your parties, you were like, "Oh, I'm going to go get some Hans Pills from Real Ale," and it was a half barrel, I'd be like, "Please God, let us like put that in the fridge version, not your chest freezer." Like having to lift that up over the lid.
Yeah, we did both, but we had a true kegerator, which is commercial grade, and it had doors that open. We didn't have to lift it down in.
Okay.
We just had to roll it up into the kegerator.
Because that would be a deciding factor for me, Thomas. Sorry, I was having to look through my question list. If you could get them cheap, but are they going to be functional in your setup, or are you going to have to call your neighbor over every time you're trying to get the keg?
Well, I mean, for me, I used Sanke Kegs for probably 4 or 5 years exclusively, and just taking them out there and having to take them apart and clean them and wash them, rinse them, soak them, dry them. You know, you're only working at 1.5 inch hole, I guess. And then by the time you fill them up, and then you have to move, I would always roll them towards the kegerator and then lift them in. They were kind of a pain in the butt to clean and to fill and to move. So 5 gallons are so much easier.
Present day James, knowing what he knows now, would you have told past James, "Dude, go get some soda kegs. Like, don't do this to yourself"? I mean,
I was using ball lock kegs before that. You know, when I first started homebrewing, I was using 5-gallon ball lock kegs, but I want to say there was a time where the pricing just jumped through the roof, and I happened to have some Sanke kegs.
So it was circumstantial.
Yeah. And I made it work. You know me, I'm a MacGyvered it.
The other thing I think people need to keep in mind with a Sanke keg is there is no pressure relief valve on a Sanke keg either. So, you're not, if you overpressurize one, that's where people like in the brewing industry have been killed before, is that they overpressurize a keg and there's no pressure relief valve on it.
I didn't know that. Why would they make it without a pressure relief valve?
Well, the couplers have the valve on them.
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, not all couplers have valves, and I don't know if they relieve pressure if it's under gas pressure with the I don't know. I probably would.
You're just giving me things.
I'd have to try it sometime.
You're giving me nightmare fuel, because now the next time I go on a brewery tour or something, every time I see the kegs, I'm gonna or them filling it, I'm gonna freak out, because I don't like pressure. I don't like things under pressure, even with pressure relief valves. I just don't like it. I don't know why. It's as irrational as my fear of flying. But to your credit, Todd, to get me over my fear of flying, you put me on a ton of planes that year, and you forced it. So maybe I need to go put my head over a bunch of Sanke kegs and pressurize them. And I don't know. That was stupid. But Thomas, yeah. So I guess what we could wrap up his question is like, circumstantially speaking, if they're dirt cheap, hey man, congrats and all that. But like James is saying, it might be a little more effort on you when it comes down to the maintenance and cleaning side of it. And again,
I think that's the biggest thing. It's just the cleaning. It's hard to get in there without it. You think about it this way: the breweries that use those kegs, they have industrial grade, high pressure. They put the kegs on a fixture and they're shooting high pressure cleaning solution into the kegs and then rinsing them. That's a pretty high dollar machine. And I couldn't get them as clean as I'd like. That's the biggest difference. Is this cleanliness is a little harder to achieve that you can get at the same level with a ball lock or a pen lock keg.
The current design of commercial kegs, when's the last, is there no room for innovation? Is that industry because again, if you're reliant on, I don't know, these kinds of things that seem archaic, like you gotta have this machine to clean it. Why don't they move? Why don't they innovate and make something a little bit more user friendly?
Because brewers are set up to use them. They have the machines. Yeah. They're set up to do all of that. So
yeah, they're designed for that industry and the way they use them. And for volume, they don't ever have to open. A lot of times they don't even pull the spear out. They stick it in a machine, hook the cleaning coupler up to it, and they've got the machines that can clean them and sanitize them really fast.
Okay.
They can fill them quick. It just works better for their industry than it would be for a home brewer.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's how we'll wrap it up. They're made to be more friendly for the commercial application. Just know what you're getting yourself into, Thomas. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. And thank you for submitting the question. Our third question of this episode is another text message to our hotline at 325-305-6107 from our buddy Stephen P. He wrote, "If you use one keg for a sour, would you dedicate that keg to sours from now on? Same question for the beer hose and tap. I'm new to making sours and want to make sure I'm not messing my equipment up." It's a great question. First off, I wouldn't brew a sour. Okay, next question. What are you doing to yourself?
Yeah, I'm surprised you took this question since none of us brew sours.
Well, conceptually
speaking,
speaking,
you must know the answer. We'll let you answer.
Conceptually speaking, here's my understanding. The brewing the sour shouldn't be, what sanitizer, guys, do we use?
Did you say brew in the shower?
Yeah, brewing in the shower, eating in the shower. There's that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer is making the salad in the shower.
That's cringy too.
I love that episode. But my conventional wisdom that I've acquired, and y'all know how trustworthy that is.
Oh, yeah.
As long as your equipment, your fermenter, has no scratches or anything for that lactobacillus or whatever the nasties are to hide in, your sanitizer should be killing things like the iodophore or like the sand step is going to kill all that to where that equipment doesn't have to be dedicated for that at all. Now with beer taps, I'd say it's probably the same thing, right? Like there's no, like sours are gross. We all agree with that on this show. Our listeners, not so much. I'll get some hate mail and 1-star reviews for that. But just because it touches your stuff doesn't inherently ruin that stuff. I'd love to lie and be like, yeah, it's going to make you have to spend a lot more money. Don't do it. Just don't brew it because it's gross. But with that out of the way, it going through your beer lines doesn't inherently taint your beer lines, and it touching your shank doesn't inherently taint the shank, and same with your faucet. Right, Todd? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, so a lot of people that brew sours, I know, do dedicate like a fermenter, or they dedicate equipment to it because they just don't want to take a chance of making a beer a sour that's not a sour later on. But it's very different when you're talking about serving the beer and it passing through your beer line, passing through your faucet. You want to use your normal techniques for cleaning your lines, as we all clean our lines at least every 2 weeks or after every other keg. But I have to admit, I haven't cleaned my lines in more than 2 weeks right now. So, but you remember, the beer's passing through there and it's going into your glass, and then you're going to drink it. It's not going to go through a process of becoming contaminated and go bad in your glass before you finish drinking it. So I don't think it's near as critical as far as the beer lines and the faucets and the dispense equipment. Now the keg maybe. You got to make sure you really sanitize that keg good and kill all that stuff, because if you had something that was nasty bits, which people do on purpose with sours, then maybe you could have a problem with the keg.
Well, and again though, it like your recommendation of sanitize it clean, you'd say that for any style, you'd say that for any keg you're about to use of any style of beer. You want your keg to be as clean and sanitized as possible every batch, regardless of what was just in it.
I wash my kegs and then I sanitize them before I put beer in them.
Right.
You could probably not sanitize a keg and just clean it really well and put beer in it, and you're probably not going to have a problem because it has alcohol in it. And you could probably do that and never have a problem. But I don't know. I think the chances of having a problem with a sour in my mind, would be greater.
Well, that's why I just stay away from the stuff, right, James? That's why.
Yeah, I'm like Todd on the dispensing side. Just clean it and sanitize it real good. Especially using acid-based sanitizer will help. But if I'm fermenting, I wouldn't want to dare use that fermenter. Once I used it as a sour, that's going to be labeled a sour fermenter, and from there on, that's all it's going to be used for.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, I've probably told this story on the podcast before, so I'm sorry if you're one of those poor individuals that's listened to every episode, but I apologize 300 and something times. But anyway, I was at a show and they were setting up their equipment, and the guy was like, everything was clean. They cleaned everything, and they're about to start dispensing. He's like, okay, well, we gotta run sanitizer through everything before we dispense. And it was just kind of funny to me because I don't do that. I don't sanitize my beer lines, and if I clean my beer lines, I don't mix up sanitizer and then run sanitizer through them afterwards, because again, they're clean. You had clean water. Now you're going to put your beer through them. It's if there was something that could contaminate a beer, unless you're going to pour the beer and let it sit in the glass for a couple of days, you're probably going to be fine. And anybody that's done that knows that when you do that, you do get contamination because it starts to stink and bubble and everything else. When you do leave beer in a glass, which of course we would never do. Well, okay, it happens a lot at my place.
I was going to say sometimes, and it's your friends. And
yes,
it happened. Let me digress real quick. That's my only gripe I ever have at the holidays when my family comes to drink our beer. I noticed it at the 4th of July. I won't name my cousin Daniel, but he poured he first off, we got I got my pop, those cool 10-ounce glasses.
Yeah.
He was insistent on getting the 20-ounce mug out of the fridge, pours a full 20, let it sit. And then it got warm and he ended up dumping half of it. I watched him then go and pour another 20 because, God, I got to have a fresh glass. And I was the whole time like, oh, no, this is the worst. This is why I don't like sharing my beer. But that was a personal digression. But yes, beer does sit sometimes, and that's when it's going to taste bad if you allow it. But even then, like you said, it has to be a couple days. If there's a contaminant in the line and you pour your glass, even an hour later, which why are you letting it sit for an hour? It's not going to sour that quick. It's not going to infect your beer that quick. So that is funny that they insisted on pouring sanitizer through the lines because, like you said, they're clean lines already. We cleaned them. They're clean lines. But I guess the more hygienic someone is, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just more effort.
Yeah, more effort. Well, and I would argue I wouldn't want to. I don't know that I wouldn't run sanitizer through my whole system and then run beer through it because it's full of sanitizer. I mean, I guess you could run enough beer and clean it out, but I'd probably want to run water through it afterwards to clean it out, and then you've just reversed everything you've done. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
I know we've also shared our thoughts on the people that send us or we've seen video clips of, what I do is I push the sand, the star sand through all the foam, and as it's going out, my beer's going in. It's like, okay, whatever you want to do, but I don't like the visual of my beer going right into fresh sanitizer. But anyways, that's another thing. I might have to edit that out. People are going to write in, that's exactly what I do, and it works for me. And
we all know you're not going to edit that out.
Yeah, you're right. I have to stop saying. I can stop saying that because people know. They're like, but you say that all the time. Yeah, and I've never edited it out. Any of it, hardly ever. But anyways, Steve, thank you so much for submitting that question, guys. We've got one final question from our buddy William, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. William emailed us at, "Hi there. I've got a question that is sure to annoy Joshua," which is why I took it. "What would you fellas do to make a Kolsch taste a little more festive for the holidays? I too love a good Kolsch, Josh, but it is the Christmas season and I'd like to make my Kolsch a little more Christmassy. How would you swap the hops to achieve this? Maybe dry hop with something else? Thank you for helping. I love the show. Lots of good things about you, Josh. Cheers from Florida, William." It doesn't annoy me. It's just, it's not a Kolsch. Like when I go,
I don't know. I do a couple of things. I crush up candy canes and put it in my Kolsch and stir it up. Christmas Day usually, and then I always have a half and half eggnog and Kolsch.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, no, I'm surprised you didn't go, what would really make it good, William, is sterling hops. You throw you throw some sterling hops in that Kolsch. It's going to be peppery and festive.
Woo!
Oh, God. I'm not trusting you the next time you brew a Kolsch. He's told me.
Yeah. I can't wait to brew you a sterling Kolsch.
He's told me that, James. He's told me the next Kolsch he brews is going to be sterling. That's disgusting. I made some notes. Again, it's not going to be a Kolsch with these kinds of changes, but it'll be a more well, here's what I would do. I would sign up for the Chub Club, and we still have the ingredients for the celebration that we shipped out for November. I would brew the celebration if you want to brew a festive beer. That is like one of the best tasting Christmas, like pine forward, a good amount of spice. Like that is what I'd brew if I wanted festive. But he asked about a Kolsch. Okay, I get it. Everyone annoy Josh today. No big deal. When I looked up hops for pine, and which made sense because that was the bittering hop for the celebration, Chinook is number one on everyone's list. Craft beer and brewing, all these. Chinook is the one to replicate it. So, Reinheitsgebot be damned, take out the noble hop and throw in Chinook for your bittering hop. Maybe up it instead of, if you're doing a 5-gallon batch, instead of 1 ounce at 60, do 1.5. If you're really trying to get the pininess in that bittering hop. Also, I guess, James, he could dry hop with some Chinook. It's the best way to achieve, because the festive, a lot of it can come from the aroma. It doesn't have to be from the flavor, right?
Sure. Yeah. You could even do cinnamon sticks. You could do anything that's Christmassy, like maybe cloves,
juniper
ginger,
berries.
Juniper berries, anything like that. But whatever you decide to put in it, please be light on. You don't want to overpower the beer. Yeah. And that's a real light beer anyway. So you don't have anything as far as full body and sweetness to cancel out anything that's overpowering. So less is always more on those things.
I was just about to ask you, like, you're right. I said 1.5 ounce. That would probably be way too much, because it is, like our Kolsch recipe is nothing. And that's what I like about it. It's just a very straightforward, balanced beer when it's done right. Making it, it's subtle. It's subtle. That's what I like. Yeah, about it.
If you want to keep it subtle, but you do want to have hints of Christmas, then be very light on what you add to it, because you could really ruin it real fast, and nothing's worse than pouring out a keg of beer.
Absolutely, Todd. You looked like you had something to add.
Well, I wanted to pull up the actual. Well, I can't read German. The actual law, though, is that beer can only have 3 ingredients: hops, barley, and water. Now, that's crazy to me, because I'm pretty sure you can have yeast too. But so it doesn't have to be a noble hop. It just has to be a hop.
Okay, Mr. Semantics. I do believe...
I'm not semantics. No, I just think... I'm telling you what the law is.
But I know, but a Kolsch... It wouldn't be a German Kolsch if it didn't have German noble hops. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're right. And you know what? If I were you, here, let me argue on your behalf. I would say, well, Josh, I'm going to stick to the rules. What you're brewing's not a Kolsch because you're not in Cologne. So that's what I would say if I was Todd Burns, because I think, don't they have a law there in Germany, James, where it's not a Kolsch if it's not from Cologne?
Well, it's a law. It's a internationally recognized, like, certain things like cheeses and beers and things like that have to that they're regional. You can't call carbonated wine champagne if it's made in the United States.
So I've been brewing the Prosecco of Kolsch's this whole time. It's not a Kolsch.
I guess. I call it a Kolsch. It's a Kolsch. It's a Kolsch.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be if you use Chinook.
Yeah, I'm going to do this to the international law body that decided that.
I'm going to send that clip of you to Horst and see what he says. Like, hey, Horst, and to Stefan, all of our German friends. Like, we brew what we want. No, but for the festive stuff, to make it most festive, like wrapping it up, James, you would say dry hopping is the best way to like, would you, if you were doing it, would you substitute the hop or would you dry hop with something lightly to make it a more quote festive?
Yeah, everything would be in the fermenter after high krausen goes away or secondary. But I would do it after primary fermentation is pretty much done. Then I would put that in there. You don't want the CO2 to scrub off any of the aromatics that you're trying to get in the beer. And then I would do it at the end of fermentation. And then if you do a secondary, you're not moving. You can move that over and string that out. And that's the way I would do it.
Perfect. So you wouldn't swap
just to be safe. Just for the record, I would never do that to a Kolsch. I'm just saying.
Thank you, my brother. That's how I felt too. And I wrote him back like, listen, I'm giving you a $15 gift card. I almost made it a $5 gift card because I'm insulted, but that's not the rules here. The rules are 15 when they do a email or a text message. Right. But you're right. William from Florida. This is like quintessential Florida man. Florida man, attached gator who tried to eat his kid. Florida man rode a tornado through a hurricane. Florida man made a festive Kolsch. That's going to be the next disgusting headline, making us judge you more, Florida man. But we appreciate the submission. And I don't want to suggest you send me a bottle because I don't really want to try it, but follow up with us and let us know how your festive Kolsch turned out, or anyone that writes in. We had a Kolsch Cup. I don't know if y'all remember, a couple people submit their different variants of it. And I think one of them got reviewed on air because y'all were like, look, this tastes great. Not a Kolsch. It tastes great though for what it is. It's just not a Kolsch, which that's okay. William's festive Kolsch may taste excellent, good. Congratulations. But it's not a Kolsch, William. Sorry.
That's what's fun about homebrewing. You can make it your own for sure.
Absolutely. That's a great way to wrap up his question. And guys, that actually wraps up the show. That's all I've got for y'all. I appreciate y'all's time. How long? First off, it's going to be so cold. Y'all are leaving soon, I hope, right? Before like it gets really bad, or y'all are fine.
It's really bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I mean, we're probably leaving fairly soon. I'm ready.
Good. Good. Well, y'all,
16 degrees feels like -1.
Please drive safe. I know you said it was just a dusting, but with all between the cold weather, the slight precipitation, and the deer that have just been crazy right now, please drive safe, guys.
Oh, you know what? I want to say one more thing before we end the podcast. I have to make fun of you a little bit, Josh. I know I don't usually do that.
Whoa, this is different.
But so you're so. I love Kolsch. I love light beers. You don't like IPAs. You don't like this, but there's only one other kind of beer you like, and that's your breakfast stout, which is it's as strong as a beer could be. I mean, it's got that bitter from the grains. It's got the bitter from the hops. It's got lots of alcohol in it. It's a strong beer. I've had like a half of one every night for the last 5 or 6 nights. I love it.
It's delicious, right?
Yeah, and it's got good body too. That's a big thing.
Oh, it's thick. I mean, I'll tell you this: when it hits my drip tray, and I have the grate off right now because I was cleaning it. A normal beer hits the drip tray, and you put a little water in there, and you don't see it. On that, you can put like a cup of water in, and it looks like a regular beer is going down the drain. So it's a strong beer. So can you explain to our listeners and myself especially, why is it that somehow your taste buds have excluded one of the strongest beers I've ever tried?
I'm a complicated man, Mr. Burns. The breakfast stout, by the way, I don't drink a ton of it because we still have half a gallon of the 2021 batch. I don't drink it frequently, but when I do, it's like a nightcap beer for me. I like coffee. Decaf, especially. I know how much you love that.
Oh, I forgot the coffee flavor too. Another kick in the teeth. Yeah.
Folgers decaf in that breakfast stout. Woo! No, I love. It's like a dessert. Like I know I made fun of pastry stouts sometimes, but this is like I get all my calories in of the night with a 1 8-ounce pour. I don't like to do more than maybe 10 ounces. And you said you pour a half. Are you talking about a half a pint, or are you talking about a half a Kolsch?
Half a pint. Yeah.
Okay, so you're
or I'll do a 7 or 8 ounce
like an alt glass.
Yeah, an alt glass.
That's how I prefer it too. And then I'm good after that one. I'll start it. I usually will start with something else with the cigar, and then I'll try to time it to where I'm ending the cigar with it. But yeah, I don't know.
See, to me, I could drink that the entire time I'm smoking a cigar. I could have 2 16-ounce of them smoking a cigar because
they go well together.
So good with a cigar.
Yeah, I could too. I can't drive is what I guess I'm getting at.
Well, this is kind of a roundabout compliment that I'm coming to, but I can't tell you enough how
much
I've enjoyed that. It's so good.
Y'all text my dad.
Told him.
Okay,
I've told him.
Did he reply?
I've texted him. Yeah. I mean, he has. It's really good.
He's the one, especially guys for this batch. We were live streaming. He did 99% of the work. Normally I do 10%, but he did 99 this time. So
wow.
That's why it always turns out so good. He's German, guys. They're known for their anal retentiveness. He was on it. He's always on it. But it is, I was telling him, it is a style we only do once a year, mainly because we don't go through it that quick. We should brew it more than once a year because having it like on your tap, Todd, is nice when I come up there. And thankfully, your friends aren't really that big of drinkers of the breakfast stout, so it's usually there,
right? Yeah,
until you and I finish it. But
yeah, because they don't like really strong beers like IPAs or breakfast stouts.
Like IPAs. Yeah. And James, I'm glad that we were able to get
Kolsch.
You a keg. Yeah. This is the first time I think we have given James a full keg of it, right? So I'm happy.
No, I got one before.
Oh,
you gave me some.
Okay,
before.
But it wasn't full. I thought last year or one year we gave y'all both like 3.5 gallons, or I thought it was less than a 5-gallon keg.
Sounds like something you do, but no, this year it was very full.
Yeah,
it was very nice.
I'm glad y'all are.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
To my dad.
And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all these things. Oh, I guess we'll have a podcast before the New Year.
We will.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy
Crazy Kwanzaa. All the above.
All those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have a great time, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or be Todd's best friend. Leave us a voicemail. We need it at 325-305-6107 for the best hops available online. Give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a free pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join our Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.